week I am using items from our pantry for our meals. We are very fortunate to have a pantry, which is right behind me, the blue door. That's our pantry. I have a pantry video of how I have organized it. I will have that linked below and in an iCard. One thing that I've changed in my pantry is on the floor I had a bin, and I would keep all of our extra things like sauces and mayonnaise, Miracle Whip, things like that in the basket. And then as we needed it, we would pull it out of the basket and use it. Well, I noticed that when we started digging through our pantry, we were losing a lot of items. They ended up getting put on shelves, things put in front of them. We were just completely losing track of the items. So we started pulling the items out of our pantry, setting them on the cupboard, and we ended up having quite a few things that I did not even realize that we had. So Jason got this amazing idea to clear off some pre-existing shelves that we have in our garage. In so doing this, it opened up an entire, probably 4 or 5 shelves that we got to use for all of these pantry items that we were finding. We have 3 of these sauces. We have 4 spaghetti sauces. We have barbecue sauce, and we found a couple extra Alfredo sauces in the pantry in the house. We found some soups. Look at all the chunky soups we found in that bin and then shoved around behind stuff in there. We have all of our cheddar cheese soups. And then of course we try to stay stocked up on mushrooms anyway, so we got to take those out of the cases and put those on these shelves. And then we have mushroom soup, black olives, and then of course our vegetables. We had an extra Jif peanut butter manwich, love to have that on hand for any occasion. And then just some extras for condiments. We have a taco seasoning. You guys know that we love our tacos. We have some Miracle Whips, ketchup. We have a roasted turkey gravy. Whoops, we must have had that since Thanksgiving. We also found some salad dressing and salsas. So because of the extra things that I found, I wanted to put these items to really good use. So I started looking around online and I come up with some meal plans. Now it's really easy to get stuck in a rut. That is something I'm trying not to fall into. Most of our meats are burger and chicken. I have a video on how we buy in bulk and how we store it. I will have that video linked below and in an iCard. Let me show you the things that I've come up with. So I found this recipe online. It's a classic patty melt and it is by Good Housekeeping. Had this one. It's basically a burger in toasted cheese with some onions. I'm going to take ours a step further and I'm going to grill our hamburgers first instead of frying them. In our pantry we have these soups. There's a chicken noodle, a chili is in the back, and a cheddar broccoli. I'm going to have soup on the side, so it's soup and sandwich night. The recipe calls for rye bread, but I only have this homemade bread in our pantry. So that's what we're going to use instead of rye bread. And we decided on the cheddar broccoli soup for the side. We had some onion in the refrigerator. I am getting that fried up in a little bit of butter. The recipe calls for your onions to be kind of golden, so that's what I'm doing. The recipe calls for a couple different cheeses. I have Velveeta cheese slices, and then I just have regular American. So I'll have everybody choose what they want, either the American or Velveeta to go on their patty melt. Well, this soup is easy enough. My goodness, you put 8 cups of water, bring it to a boil, and then you just whisk it in, and it already has the broccoli and the cheese in it. You let it simmer for 10 minutes and that's it. Nothing to it. Normally when I make toasted cheese, I always put the butter on the bread, but this recipe calls for mayonnaise on the outside of the bread and toast it up that way. So we're gonna give that a try. We decided we're going to do 2 pieces of cheese, one on the bottom and one on the top. Jason found these fried apples that we had bought quite a while ago from Cracker Barrel in our pantry, and he came up with the idea to make apple crisp. Well, he started looking in the pantry and we have everything for it. That takes oatmeal, some flour, brown sugar, ground nutmeg, some ground cinnamon, and that is going to make a delicious apple crisp. Once he gets it all mixed up, he's going to put it in the cast iron pan, and then he is actually going to bake it in the oven. Today I found this recipe online, and it is called Meatball Bombs. In the recipe, you are supposed to take, I believe it's biscuits, and wrap a meatball in a biscuit. I don't have biscuits, I have rolls, so I'm gonna change that up with this recipe. But other than that, this looks really simple and very delicious, so we are gonna give it a try. In the pantry, I have a few different spaghetti sauces. I have a fire roasted tomato garlic, super chunky mushroom. I don't think I want that for this, not a chunky. And then just traditional. I think I'm actually going to use the fire roasted tomato garlic. That'll give it a little more flavor to the meatball bomb. Hey, in the freezer, I have this pack of meatballs right here. They are an Italian style meatball. I got these from Schwan's, so I'll be using those. And then for the rolls, I have these Texas rolls. They were in the house freezer. So I'm gonna get these thawed out so I can work with them. And then the meatballs, I'm gonna put 8 of those in the refrigerator to get them thawing out as well. Change of plans with the sauce. We actually found this one, it was open. We used it for another meal and it was in the refrigerator. So we're gonna go ahead and continue to use this because these don't really take a whole lot of sauce. Okay, so we let the rolls just sit and rise, and now we're gonna take them out and we are going to flatten them out into like a small circle. These meatballs are really little, so we're actually gonna put 2 in the meatball bomb. The recipe calls for mozzarella. I don't have mozzarella, so I'm gonna just use a little bit of the mild cheddar. We're just gonna do butter, Italian seasoning, and garlic powder. And then you're just gonna put it over top of every single one of the meatball bombs. You're going to preheat your oven to 350, and then you will bake these for 18 to 20 minutes. These meatball bombs smell really good. And then on the side, we are going to have some salad that we have a bag of it in the refrigerator. We're just trying to get it used up before it ends up going bad. Tonight I am making a really simple beef stroganoff by Campbell's. The recipe calls for steak, but instead of steak I'm going to use burger. And then you use some cream of mushroom soup. The recipe calls for just the paprika and pepper, but I'm going to add a little bit of seasoning salt and probably a little bit of regular salt too. And then you need some onion and of course your egg noodles. I have canned mushroom in my pantry, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bump it up with a couple cans of mushrooms. I'm going to add that right to it too. Okay, so I added the cream of mushroom soup. It calls for a 3/4 cup of milk, and then I just put in the mushrooms. I'm going to stir this together and let it simmer. I'm going to add the paprika and then a little bit more seasoning so it's not bland.
That's really good.
Yeah? Good.
Winner, winner.
All right, it's a keeper. I had 2 very ripe bananas, and I've decided to dig out everything out of the pantry today and make some banana bread. Here is the recipe if you want to snapshot it so you can have it for later. Tonight we are keeping it really simple, and we're having an oldie but a goodie, and it is Tater Tot Casserole. We do not have tater tots, but we do have these diced hash brown potatoes. We're gonna season them up and put them over the top instead of tater tots. We also add a can of cream of mushroom soup, cream of cheddar soup, and then we add probably about a half a can of milk to the soup mixtures. And then the seasonings are just normal: onion powder, garlic powder, pepper, and salt. Put it in an oven at 350 for about 45 minutes. I forgot, because it's been so long since I've made the tater tot casserole, I actually add mushrooms into it also. So I'm gonna add 2 cans of mushrooms into the casserole. Well, the potatoes did not brown up like the tater tots do, but they're cooked through. Jason taste tested them and he said they're really good. So all in all, it's a good dinner. It'll still taste good, so we're happy with that. Tonight for dinner, we are having Swedish meatballs. This recipe is made with frozen meatballs, so I am going to be using some of the frozen meatballs that I am still working on out of the freezer. It calls for a 1/4 cup of butter melted. You're gonna make a roux. After the butter melts, then you are going to add a 1/3 cup of the flour. It calls for beef broth. I didn't have beef broth, so I made my own with some beef bouillon cubes and water. And you need 4 cups of beef broth. My assistant is going to add 3/4 cup of sour cream to the brown gravy. Once the sour cream is added in, then you get to add the meatballs, and those are going to simmer in the sauce for 10 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm going to make up some egg noodles. These are meals that any one of our households can use. I will have all of the recipes linked below for you to be able to make for your family. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon.